Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Impactful Coaching Podcast, where we talk about entrepreneurship, psychology, and peak performance. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to build a growth business instead of a survival business. And we'll talk about what are the key differences between a growth business and a survival business, and why most founders start by building survival businesses. Now, let's talk about the key differences between a survival business and a growth business. Now, in most of the survival businesses, here's exactly what happens. A business starts out where the founder is actually a domain expert in that particular niche or industry. That could be accounting services, that could be personal training, or whatever that is, They are an expert in that particular domain, and so they decide to start their business. Once they start their business, they initially go out to their network and then say, hey, I'm doing this thing. Why don't you send me some referrals? Or if you're interested, just let me know, And then because they usually have a very good network in the initial stages, they get a couple of clients. They start working, they start making good business, and they think, hey, this is working. Now, in the initial stages, the business keeps growing, They keep getting referrals, the business keeps growing, and the network is slightly growing, and then everything happens. But beyond a certain point, when they want to scale a little more farther, they get stuck. This is because their entire growth strategy has been dependent on referrals and network. Now, here's what happens with many of these founders. Many of these founders, what ends up happening is they are involved in the operations side of the business. Because they are involved in the operations side of the business, they don't have time to work on the marketing and the sales on a consistent basis. And when marketing and sales do not happen on a consistent basis, your pipeline does not grow consistently. And when your pipeline does not grow consistently, you get stuck. Now, in a growth business, on the other hand, the marketing and the sales is happening consistently regardless of what happens. There's new leads coming in. Those leads are being converted into sales, and then those sales are being serviced. Now, in most cases, what ends up happening is many of these founders who build these types of growth businesses, they usually have teams that basically handle the marketing, the sales, and the operations. And in some cases, what happens is it's not just teams, it's probably systems. Now, if you're a coach who offers one-to-one coaching services, you could probably create a system which allows you to build your marketing pipeline and also a system to provide services. And you could work with a completely lean team. But the thing is, many founders rarely build this deliberately. They usually just wing it, and therefore they end up being stuck. So how do you build a growth business? Now, the secret to building a growth business is to actually invest enough time in marketing and sales. Again, many founders, because they do not know how to market or sell the services of their expertise, what ends up happening is many founders confuse marketing and sales. Marketing is about generating a lead or generating an inquiry towards your business. Sales is about actually converting that lead, converting that inquiry into a sale. To market yourself, what you need to do is you need to go out to your cold, hard audience and you need to add value. When you add value, you build trust and credibility with your audience. And sales is about converting that trust and credibility into revenue for your business. Now, if you're into accounting services, you could probably go out there on Instagram, on YouTube, or whatever those platforms are, and then you could talk about 3 mistakes founders make when setting up their business. 3 cash flow mistakes to avoid as a founder of an early stage startup. You could create videos like these and put these out in front of your audience, and this video will basically go out to the founders that you are targeting, the people that you want to work with for your business, as an accounting service provider, and you can add value to the audience. And here, remember, you're not pitching to this audience. What you're doing is you're showing up, you are talking about their problems, you're talking about their challenges, and then you are building value. Now, at the end of the video or at the end of your content pieces, what you can do is you can make a pitch, inviting people to join your newsletter where you talk about how founders can successfully scale their business using the best accounting practices. People watch your content online, they like and trust you, and then they eventually join your list. And now in your list, every now and then you make a pitch. Hey, we're offering accounting services to startups. These are the types of services that we offer. We offer company registration, we offer tax planning, we offer XYZ services. If you're interested, book a call with us. And now what you need to do is you just simply need to focus on the key numbers. First, how much is your audience growing on your social media channels? Number 1. The second thing is how big of a list that you have and how is your list growing on a regular basis. Whenever you make an offer, how many people are responding and how many of them are converting into booked appointments. And when you get your booked appointments, you can basically make your pitch. And when you can improvise your pitch to basically make the sales easy. This is how you build a growth business. Now, it may seem like a simple marketing and sales strategy, put out some videos, build a list, and then invite people, that's the basic way, Now with the internet, you can do all of these things more easily, If it wasn't for the internet, what you would have to do is you would have to find networks or forums where a lot of founders hang out. And then what you should do is you should go out there and give talks, give them knowledge about what you exactly do, and how they can overcome their problems, and then eventually invite them to join you. That would be the strategy. Now, the strategy may look simple, but it's not easy to execute. Most entrepreneurs, what ends up happening is they are firefighting, they are busy on operations, they're busy in marketing. They're just busy doing the bare minimum amount of things that are necessary to grow their business, to keep the bills paid. They don't really invest enough time into actually doing these things. But it's when you do these things is when you can get control over your growth. Without doing these things, you are stuck. So as a founder, here are 5 simple things that you can do starting today to build a growth business instead of a survival business. First, identify who your target audience is and understand where they hang out, whether that's an online platform, whether that's in a physical location, or whatever that is. That's number 1. Now that you figured out who your audience is and where do they hang out, the second step is you want to list down all of their needs, desires, and problems. Third is to create content that educates this audience, create content that educates this audience, and then start putting that out on LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, or whatever that is, and if it's an online forum, if it's an offline forum, make sure to put out content in that offline forum as well. Now, the fourth step to build a growth business is to build a list, which is an email list. It could be a WhatsApp group, or it could be whatever that is. Build a list where people who in your target audience, where you can invite the people in your target audience to join you so they can learn more about your type of industry or your type of service that you offer. The easiest way to do that is by building an email list. All you need to do is just focus on growing your email list as much as possible, and then eventually convert that into sales. The fifth secret is to create a system through which you can get inbound queries for your services. Now, that could be an online calendar that you set up, where people can book their time with you so they can talk about the services that you offer. So when you do these 5 things, you can go from firefighting, go from surviving in your business to actually thriving and scaling. Now, just because you start doing these things, it does not mean you're going to have a growth business immediately. You will still continue to do your firefighting. But over a period of time, as you do this on a consistent basis, you will build a pipeline for yourself. And as the pipeline grows and grows, you will have control over your growth. So this is Harry Ramsay signing off from Impactful Coaches. Look forward to seeing you more on future episodes.